This was Boog, and then this was another dude. Boog did my neck, my hands, except for this one. This, actually, no, he didn't do that. So, a couple things. Then he passed. I apprenticed, not under him, but another guy there for a while. I used to. Before I would say probably like the 07 era, you know?
She got hella slow.
Yeah, and then it was like at that transition where people like your Nico Hurtado dude was starting to become super big and famous, and people were starting to go towards that ultra bright, colorful realism kind of thing. And I don't know, I just I was in, once I left that shop, I went to another one, and it was just like a fucking scratcher, tweaker kind of shop, man. It wasn't doing like college tattoos for people that are drunk, and I just fell out of it, you know. I wanted to do it for the art. And then, like I said, I never really touched a rotary machine, and I never properly learned how to adjust and tune, coil machines. So I would have my guy that was teaching me, and I'd do something really nice, and then he'd leave, and I was like, this shit is not working right anymore, you know? Different skin, different stuff, wouldn't take an ink right, and I just didn't have the skills to adjust and calibrate, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very technical tattooing. It can be kind of a pain in the ass when your shit's not working right.
Yeah. Just throw this on your shirt and it will be good to go. Okay. But yeah, you can do that either way. Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, that was kind of the thing, man. Like I really wanted to get into it heavy, and
just anywhere on the collar.
On the collar would be good, yeah. And just not having the right teachers was probably the biggest issue.
Yeah, that's huge.
You know what I mean? And that was still at the time where you couldn't find the shit on YouTube, and there wasn't as much information. You still had to like do it the old-fashioned way, get it in the shop, kind of.
Definitely.
So, but you grew up in this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, fuck. Always from Venice, like pops, everything, or what?
No, I've been in Venice about 10 years. I grew up all over LA County, from Southeast Los Angeles to Hollywood to, I even lived in Orange County for a little bit. Just kind of bounced around whatever shop my dad was working at.
Mm-hmm.
We were there. My mom lived in Whittier most of my life, so I spent a lot of time there as well. Just always kind of moving. I don't think I ever lived in one place. Venice has been here for 10 years. This is the longest I've lived in one area.
For real.
Growing up.
What drew you to this place, like over all the other areas of LA?
Kind of a funny story. Are we live?
Yeah.
Oh, we're live. Okay. So, I came here to get sober.
For real.
I was struggling really bad with drugs and alcohol, and kind of tried another geographic, try somewhere where I hadn't caused too much wreckage, you know, and where I could kind of get a little bit of a fresh start. LA is so big, you know, it's where if you go from like South LA, East LA to West LA to the Valley, to San Gabriel Valley, you know, you kind of give yourself a better chance, I guess, if you're struggling with something like drugs or alcohol, you know.
I mean, from outside looking in, you would think Venice is more drugs and alcohol.
Right.
You know?
Sure. It's definitely there if you're looking for it. You know what I mean? I go way back with Julian Ness. He's Mike Ness's son.
Mm-hmm.
And he was running a sober living up here in Venice. And the lady who was helping me get clean reached out to him, and they, you know, Bob Forrest, he owned this sober living in Santa Monica, and he said that they would scholarship me and give me a bed. So I just took it, came up here, and as soon as I spent a lot of time here as a kid, like skating and hanging out with friends and stuff, and I always wanted to live here. So when I got the opportunity to come back out here, I took it and, you know, hung out with people that weren't getting loaded.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I've just kind of stayed, you know?
Yeah. Well, it seems like if you're growing up in the tattoo culture, especially in the 90s, it felt like you know, it all went hand in hand with music, skateboarding, motorcycles, the whole thing. But it was, I mean, like I said, I kind of grew up in the same kind of place in Dallas, you know?
Yeah.
And you see a lot of wild shit coming through a tattoo shop, you know what I mean? Like whether it's good times, bad times, you know, fucking drugs, parties, women, you know, it was wild growing up in that, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
And it's sometimes, I mean, I was very impressionable as a kid at that in the 90s. I'm 42 now. So, you know, mid 90s, I'm fucking, you know, just going to high school. These dudes are cool as shit, you know what I mean? Getting tattooed and having hot chicks with them, you know? And yeah, I could see how that would like translate. But here it was like the mecca, skateboarding, fucking all that, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, shit, I remember the skateboard culture here was insane through the 90s. Yeah. You know what I mean? Everybody that I knew in Dallas was trying to get out here just to try to ride for a you know, a team or something like that, you know?
Yeah, Southern California is definitely has a big, heavy influence on all these different countercultures, I guess you could say. And growing up around all that stuff, for sure, drugs and alcohol were definitely glamorized, you know? Like all the dudes that I really liked had drug problems or looked up to had alcohol issues, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You ever watched any of that, it's on YouTube, like the Epically Latered?
Yeah.
It has like a lot of the skaters that I feel like I grew up, you know, idolizing, if you will. And it shows some of their past. Some of them kind of got heavy into stuff, got cleaned up. And that was always like wild to me, especially like once I watched one about Bam over. Yeah. That got, you know, and then now he's kind of sober, getting his life back together and stuff like that. But
yeah, he was out here for a little bit trying to get clean in West LA. I'm not sure where he landed, but I know
he's been in Texas lately, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
yeah, they just did one Epically Latered on a really good friend of mine, Anthony Van England. And
I remember him. Yeah,
he's the coolest motherfucker ever, you know. And he's also sober. You know, he's been a big influence on me and my sobriety and this whole journey I've been on. And he's become a really close friend. And he's into bikes now, so we go on rides and do shit like that. You know, it's cool to see people come out the other side of it because unfortunately, a lot of people don't. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Just this week, I've lost 2 friends to overdoses, which kind of nuts, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just grateful I'm sober. I'm stoked I'm here. I don't know if I'll like really where the road's gonna lead me, but I'm very content and happy to be where I'm at right now.
When did you start taking tattooing, like getting into, I mean, you grew up around it, but did you take into it younger or did it?
Yeah. So I'm 31 years old. I started tattooing when I was 15 years old. I was a real troubled kid, I guess you could say. I was just a troublemaker, you know what I mean? I was always getting into shit. I started getting incarcerated really young, juvenile halls, all that good stuff, getting arrested very often. Probation, all the shit. I put my mother through a lot and my father. Yeah, and I finished freshman year of high school. I was going to Whittier High at the time. My mom was living in Uptown Whittier. And this is after I've already gone to about 4 different high schools within my first year and always getting kicked out and stuff. But when I got to sophomore year, I started tattooing more. I would tattoo my mom's garage and tattooing a lot of neighborhood guys and, you know, stuff like that. Neighborhood dudes, gangsters, skaters, you know, my mom's friends, older people that had known me since I was a kid, you know, so.
Did you take to art pretty quickly as far as like the pen to paper kind of thing, drawing, sketching, things like that?
I did. I always liked to draw, but I wasn't like extremely like gifted or anything, you know what I mean? Like I guess I could draw better than like the average person, you know what I mean? Because my father was a tattooer and I grew up in shops watching him and stuff, but yeah, I guess, I always drew and stuff, but it took a long time before I actually got good at it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I got like, I think halfway through sophomore year, and then I dropped out of high school and started working in tattoo shops full time. Yeah.
What kind of style do you think that you kind of took to early on? Was it more the Chicano culture kind of style? Would you say it's more traditional?
Definitely in the beginning, just because of where I was at, which was like, you know, Uptown Whittier, Southeast LA, East LA. It's predominantly Hispanic, Mexican, or like, you know, blue collar white boys or whatever, you know. So it was black and gray was definitely like what people wanted, you know what I mean? Because that's what their uncle had or their dad had who'd done time or whatever. It was just kind of like a more street thing, black and gray, and that was kind of like.
What time frame was this?
I don't know. I'm so bad with you. So if I'm 31 now, and this was 16 years ago.
So probably like 2009-ish, 12, 10. Wait, so.
I think like 2008.
Okay,
no?
yeah.
Or something like that.
So I mean.
2009.
Yeah, that style was definitely predominant at the time, but you had like.
Yeah, it was definitely like the people that were getting it. It's not really like how it is now. Now it's almost like now a lot of people get it, you know what I mean? I feel like even back then, which wasn't that long ago, it was more of like a street, more street thing, you know what I mean? But
I always liked that look because of the softness to it. It kind of had this, you know, growing up an airbrush artist and stuff and doing hood murals when I was a kid, you know, like you love that artwork that just kind of blends into itself across the board, you know what I'm saying? And the softness of like the line work so thin, you know, that kind of look, it was just badass. You know, obviously, you're, like I said, coming off of the 90s tattoos, people dig in too hard. You get these fat ass lines over the course of, you know, 10 years in your skin. It starts to look like shit and stuff like that.
Definitely. I love all styles of tattooing, and luckily I was like blessed enough to grow up underneath my father who knows how to do everything just because of a lot of the artists he's worked for over the years. And you know, I got into traditional tattooing kind of when I moved down to Orange County because that's what people wanted, you know, in Newport and Huntington and Costa Mesa and stuff. It was traditional. That's what kids my age were getting. And you know, I grew up in classic tattoo when I was a kid, Eric Mosky's shop, because my dad, after he passed away, my father ran the shop for his family, so I was always around like traditional art, you know, and I always really liked it. And that and Japanese, you know. I think like the black and gray thing, it was just like I love it too. I love it all. That's the thing. I don't like love one more than the other. You know what I mean? Like I've always wanted to challenge myself and not be weak in any area, because when you're kind of like a street shop tattooer, which I always was and I still am, you know, like if you don't know how to do something and you have to pass up on that job, then that's just like money not in your pocket, you know, and you got to learn how to do everything and do it right, you know? Yeah. At least that was kind of like the mentality of the artists that I was around, you know? Now it's kind of like, it's just different.
People got to focus,
yeah. You know?
Do you feel like you get a lot of your clients through, I mean, obviously it comes through the Instagram. This is an appointment only type of shop, right?
I work by appointment only, but that's not like I'm an appointment only type guy or something. It's just kind of worked out like that, you know. During COVID, I had a private studio, and that was like it was appointment only, and that was because of the whole regulation stuff. But this, I opened it up as like a street shop because I wanted the guys that are my friends that tattoo that don't necessarily have as much work as me to be able to make some money, you know what I mean? So I promoted it as a walk-in shop, and that's pretty much what's going on downstairs, you know? You get tattoo people that come in from Yelp or Google or whatever, or just walking past on the street, you know?
Yeah, I was riding through here the other day. Me and my wife went to catch a sunset, and then I passed through here to get back to Brooks, and I saw the sign. I'm like, oh, fuck, I didn't know you were down here. Because it's like, I'm thinking that there would be like a Venice address, but I forget this is still considered Los Angeles, and Venice is kind of a...
It's like an unincorporated city of Los Angeles. It's weird.
But, no, it's rad. How did, you know, like, you know, obviously growing up, you know, your grandfather, the motorcycle culture, when did that take hold? Is it something that you kind of grew up around as well, in a way that you always knew you'd be in bikes, or what?
Yeah. You know, like when I was a kid, I was always drawn to it. And my grandfather's a really busy dude, you know. I've always had like a really, like, you know, close relationship with him, but he was. I just always knew as a kid that he was like this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I always had a lot of respect for him, and if anything, was kind of scared of him. You know, because of all the stories I'd heard about him from other people, not from people in my family and stuff. Like I was just like, you know, and anytime I did hang out with him, or we'd go over there, we were in the garage working on bikes, or he was working on some crazy project that he was doing. The guy never rests, you know, he's always up to something, and I was always really inspired by that. I think like the first time I, you know, had like a motorized vehicle was, I might have been 12 or something, and I told him I wanted a mini chopper, and he said, all right, well then, you know, I'm gonna pick you up at, you know, I think it was like 4:30 or 5 in the morning, and we're going to the Long Beach swap meet, you know, and I was like, oh shit, you know, so, or no, my mom dropped me off at his house in Wilmington, just on the border of Long Beach, and I crashed over there. We went to the swap meet, picked out the frame, got a lawnmower engine, found some cool bars, wired it up and put it together. I put an orange Sportster tank on it. He's always had like the 5-ball as his kind of like his brand and his logo, you know, so it looked cool because it was like bright orange, racing orange, you know, stuff. So yeah,
I feel like that name, like using the last name with the pool ball, I mean, it's fucking genius, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's got a funny story on how that all started.
I can let him tell me.
Yeah, you should let him tell you. It's a good story. It's a quick one. It's funny. Yeah. Let's put it this way. He's been married 6 times.
Oh, shit. Keith. Okay.
Yeah.
But I thought it was, you know, like I said, you guys, like, not just my limited view of what I've been diving into in this culture out here, the chopper culture, all this. I'm out here. Everybody's like, you going to the I forget what you called the show. It was like a Hellraiser. Yeah.
Yeah, that was just like a name I thought of. Like I literally thought of that name on the spot. I didn't put much thought into it. You know what I mean? Like Carrie Brobeck from Choppers Magazine was like, you need a name for it. You need a name for it. You need a name for it. And I was like, and I was getting a chick to draw up the flyer. I just wrote Hellraiser because Motorhead was playing at the shop. You know, and just told her Hellraiser, and she put it on, and it was actually pretty cool the way she drew up the flyer and everything. It worked really well, you know?
Yeah, some friends of mine that you know as well were saying that it's like, they felt like it was the best like event to be in LA motorcycle related. Like it felt like some old school parties from like the early, you know, vintage chopper era days to like nowadays with the modern stuff having like, you know, like you said, having CJ and some of the stunt riders out there. It like really blended the culture, both sides of the motorcycle side together and whatnot. So, like I said, a lot of people were saying it was a badass event. So
I'm really flattered and really stoked that he got that kind of response because I was not expecting that at all. You know what I mean? I was expecting maybe like 200 of like my friends and like their friends to show up. I think there was like 1,500 people that showed up. It was pretty nuts, you know?
I think it's a testament to right now. I think people, not that there's anything wrong with the Born Free or Sturgis, I think they're ready for some like, just something new, to try something new, to be able to say they were at the first of something that feels different, looks different. Maybe it's not different in general for people that's been around here for a long time, but it's just new to the wave right now. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's, you know, for us, you know, us out in the Texas and other areas. I mean, we got bike events, scenes, parties, things as well. But you know, out here it seems like you just can quickly get more together. Like you said, quick. Like you said, you just do this thing together over a course of like a month or two, you know?
Yeah.
If that.
Yeah, it was like a funny story how it all started. Like I didn't even really, so, you know, kind of my introduction into art other than tattooing was like graffiti. I started, you know, and if you grow up in LA, it's like, you know, I didn't grow up like by the beach. So it was like you skated, you wrote graffiti, you played sports, or you gangbanged, you know? And I liked graffiti and skating. So I got into graffiti or whatever, you know, and it's not something that I like do a lot anymore, but when I was a kid, I was pretty obsessed with it. And long story short, like nowadays, I hang out with some dudes that are probably the best graffiti artists in Los Angeles, and they're from like really big crew that everyone
like CBS stuff like that.
MSK,
MSK,
AWR. Yeah, and it's really cool. I get to hang out with them, make art with them and stuff, and I'm really good friends with a lot of them. And my buddy Atlas and Alloy, they're both from MSK, and we were painting a mural for a restaurant in Culver City. And Atlas, we were painting, and he's like, hey, anyone that wants to rent a warehouse in Boyle Heights? And I said, how much? And he told me how much, and I was like, I don't know anyone that could afford that. And I said, hey, can I rent it for a night? And Atlas rides bikes, and he's super cool, and he's like, yeah, for sure. What do you want to do? I said, it's still like a little bike party, He said, all right, well, it can only really be these dates because we're probably going to rent it out. And I was like, fuck, that gives me like 3 weeks.
Oh, shit.
So that's just kind of what happened, We just fucking pulled it all together. Like all my friends pretty much just made it happen. If you grow up in like blue collar neighborhoods, you got a friend who does something, that can help with that, whether it's, a dude who can build a stage, or a dude who can hire a bunch of big motherfuckers to be security, or a bunch of dudes that can.
Did you have to go through all that process to get like security for this event, things like that, or?
Yeah.
It got that big?
Yeah, but we were way understaffed, you know what I mean? Because like I said, we weren't really expecting that. We were just trying to have like a little thing. I didn't think it was gonna like snowball into like what it did, But it was fun. It was cool. There was no drama, everyone was respectful. In California, Southern California, we have like a lot of the motorcycle scene is very big. It's like there's a lot of different worlds within the world. You know? Even within those worlds, there's worlds, whether that's like chopper kids or like hipster chopper kids or like outlaw chopper guys or fucking outlaw 1%er clubs or whatever, or old dudes, young, I don't know. It's just, women riders. It's just fucking, it's vast, you know what I mean? And I just asked everyone to please it's my buddy's warehouse, you know what I mean? And he's being like nice and letting us do this here. Like, can everyone just please come in peace and no drama and just be cool? And everyone did. It was really, really rad.
Yeah. Now that's a good point, man. It's like but I think bringing all those people together too just kind of helps inspire everybody. It's just like, painting with other people. When you get people together, it can be inspiring. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So
it's all about energy, right? Like everyone's got something to contribute, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and giving them a stage like that, like an event like that, to show off their bikes, their art, their skills, their stunts, their whatever the case may be. It's like those are the kind of things I think people want, as much as like social media helps, especially like a brand like yourself, like a man like yourself, tattooing and whatnot. For me, it's helped me a tremendous, but it's also become like this gross place that I really don't like being, but I know I have to be, so I have to put up with it. I like the whole aspect of going and meeting people in person. Because back when like 7 years ago when I started this podcast, it was a lot easier to just message someone, be like, hey man, I'm coming through town. And now it's like you get people that get certain levels, you can't connect with them. You got to find. I've had people that I've had to go through like they aren't even, in my opinion, like famous. That I have to go through agents and shit to talk to them and shit. It's weird.
Yeah, it's pretty far out. I get it. I deal with that shit a lot. Or not a lot, but sometimes,
Yeah.
It can be weird.
Yeah, it's strange. Because it's like, on the outside looking in, this world looks vast. It looks massive. But realistically, the whole world of motorcycling and this stuff, you quickly find yourself in the middle of it across the country. Like saying, you go to one event like yours, the next thing you know, you're standing next to somebody that's, if you're from the Midwest, like you're idolizing this dude out in California that builds bikes or tattoos or something like that. It's that easy to get to the middle of it,
Right.
As opposed to, maybe in like Hollywood acting, music, it might be harder to get into that circle. You know what I mean?
For sure.
That quickly. So it's definitely it's been a crazy thing for myself as well. But the whole, I don't know, like I dig it. When I saw y'all's brand, I started following you guys after that show came out, and then immediately loved the photography. You know what I mean? Just the way that it's even sitting here in your shop, just seeing all the photography on the walls, like, was that something that you were connected to, that you wanted to express through the brand, or how would you say that?
Our photography, so I guess like to give a little back story on it, like the brands, you know, like Five Ball as like a brand, I guess you can say, has been around for a really long time, because my grandfather Keith, it's like all him, you know, and he kind of fell into like the leather industry in like 2013 through some other people that wanted to pretty much use his name to help with their leather company, and he became involved with them. A few years go by, they're not part of the picture anymore. Keith is the sole owner of Five Ball, and then Five Ball Racing Leathers, and then you know, I helped him for years with it, just kind of behind the scenes, you know, just whatever he needed help with, I would do that. Just for, you know, he'd let me work on my bike in his garage and would give me endless knowledge on anything that I needed help with. So I just felt like I should, you know, any way I could help him, I would, you know, because he'd do the same for me.
Yeah.
When he was moving to South Dakota, he had all this inventory, and he just said he didn't feel like doing it no more. And he asked me if I wanted to buy the company, and I said, yeah, sure, I'm down. I always felt like it could be marketed a little better, you know, but like I didn't want to, like, that wasn't my place to tell him that, you know what I mean? He had his vision and his demographic, you know what I mean? Like, because all the designs that he made, most of them come from him, you know what I mean? He designed them, and I just thought, like, fuck, these are so badass, you know what I mean? But like the demographic that it's become, like, it's going like full circle now, to where like younger people that didn't really know who Keith was are starting to
just know some of his history.
You know, but like you know, like my dad's, a lot of people that are my age still do know who he is, but there's still like some that didn't, you know, so it's like becoming more like a circle again, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, you know, all the older guys that have been riding for 50, 60 years, they all know who he is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, even less than that for sure, you know? But yeah, I just felt like that if he would have like let me kind of like help him or whatever, like, you know, that I could make this kind of like more available to people that are younger, that are riding every day and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So when I kind of took over it, I kind of just real simply said that, like, I don't really want to like be getting models and like shit like that. I just want to kind of like shoot people that are just real people, just normal people, you know? Just a guy that has like, it's just a normal dude, goes to work and hangs out with his friends and goes home, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I don't need to like
Want to
shoot
look
some,
accessible to the people that are gonna buy it.
Yeah,
know?
exactly. I didn't want to like make it look any crazier than it is, or try to like, you know, it was just like, this is, you know, and luckily I have a lot of cool friends, you know, that have cool bikes, that are involved with cool shit, you know, so I just hit them up. And the photography started first with my first photographer. His name is Mike DeLeon. He's originally from Washington. Right now he lives in New York, but he was working with me during COVID, and he helped me build a lot of stuff with the brand, because he worked in like the clothing industry before. I'd never done any of that, you know what I mean? I've just been tattooing my whole life, you know, so it was all new to me, and he helped me out a lot. And then it rolled over into my buddy Levi Williams, who shot a lot of stuff for us as well, who's really good. And they're all just fucking really talented guys, you know, and I try to give them as much creative freedom as possible. I don't try to like nitpick and like tell them they need to do this or do this or this. I ask them, you know, like, you know, this is what I'm looking for, you know, if you can kind of like, you know, but like the photographers that are shooting are also bikers, you know what I mean?
So they get it.
So they know what looks cool, you know? So I think it's like finding someone that you trust, because they themselves have a cool style and aesthetic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then they go and do their thing, you know what I mean?
I mean,
then you just curate it. And
like I said, I nerded out when I first found it, because I was a huge fan of photography. I love the way you branded it. You took it and you made it. It's got a grit to it, like a little bit different than, I guess, not to talk shit, but the hipster style of choppers that kind of involve, you know, also exists.
Right.
It's got like more of a tough aspect to it that I kind of dig. I think we kind of need that right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, like I feel like clothing in general, it goes through waves. And, you know, one day it's like everybody's, you know, trying to wear textiles and Gore-Tex and shit like that. And the next day it's back to leather. And I feel like we're on that wave of, you know, let's get back to something that looks timeless. You know what I mean?
That's kind of, yeah, I guess that's like the best word for any of this shit is like the tattooing that I like, the fucking art that I like, the music that I like, this shit, it's just timeless.
Yeah,
You know, and that's what, I don't really like trendy shit. If everyone's watching something I'm not, you're not gonna find me running home to put it on TV. You know what I mean? Like I've never really cared.
Yeah.
It just happens to be that tattoos and motorcycles are kind of popular right now. You know what I mean? But this is really all I don't really know much else. You know what I mean? But
it does suck when it's literally your life, but because the outside world sees it becoming popular, you get associated with the trend. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I can see why. It's all fucking really cool shit. You know what I mean? Like you do it, I do it. You're covered in tattoos. You ride a bike everywhere. It's fucking dope and it's cool. I just felt like maybe it was kept a little bit more like this, but now it's very glamorized and stuff, which is cool. But like, it also brings in people that are just following trends, which isn't cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But who knows? You know, it's not like you have to grow up with like a father who did this or a grandfather that did this. If your heart draws you to this and you're genuinely interested in it and you find some sort of identity within it, that's rad. But I just always feel like whatever you do that with, you should pay dues and respect to where it came from and the guys that paved the way and the history that comes behind it. I feel like some of these motherfuckers act like they invented the wheel. You know what I mean? Like they're like some of these like, I don't know, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It's like these fucking huge egomaniacs that are involved in whether it's tattooing or motorcycle. They think they're like
the gift to this
world.
Like
they created something. And it's like, well, I don't know. I bet you probably pulled that out of an old Easy Rider magazine from fucking 30 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's cool. You know, that's what it's there for, reference and stuff. But like, you got to pay respects to the motherfuckers that paved the road. You know,
I really feel like we're in the culture right now of people who are finding inspiration through the past, the present, and all these different areas, but they are reluctant to share to the world where their inspiration came from, as if they're embarrassed. Or they want the world to think that they're just full of all these great ideas. But, you know, like you just said, it's all like, to me, I've been saying this recently, and maybe to those egotistical kind of more personnel, your legacy is only carried on by the people that you inspire, right? And if you live your whole life like taking, not giving back, not shining light, whether they're older or younger than you, those people that if you inspire me and I go out and do something that's from your inspiration, it's my job to tell the world where that came from. Right. It doesn't mean that I didn't make it mine in some kind of way or didn't like put my twist to it. But, you know, it's better if we live in a world like that rather than like hiding it. Because the same thing, talking about your grandfather, talking about your family legacy and stuff, it's like there's a lot of people that have been getting into bikes over the last couple of years, and maybe it's a more modern bike. They're not really into the choppers or the heavy tattoo culture that, you know, you're a part of, but hopefully they get the spark to want to learn about where this culture came from and why it's like this and how it got to the point where it inspired them to jump on a bike. You know what I mean? Because even though it's hard to go back and look at like a 1970s Easy Rider and see some badass choppers and some parties and some field meets and stuff like that, and for some people to translate to how does that connect to us now? It evolved. And then, you know, some of those guys are older and they got into baggers and it made baggers popular. And then baggers popular for a long time. Now they become convenient. Now you got a lot of people on performance baggers ripping the streets, having fun on them. It's all paying back. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
yeah, I'm super open to like pretty much anything on two wheels. If it's a Harley, you know, I own old bikes. I own new bikes. It's just, I don't really, you know, I definitely am more drawn to the older stuff. I just think they're more sexy and attractive and stuff. But I got a brand new Road Glide that I'll rip to South Dakota on to go see my grandfather and
Yeah.
go to tattoo conventions on, carry all my shit with me because I'm got places to go and shit, you know what I mean? But yeah, I agree with you. Like the evolution of stuff is really cool, and I think it's cool right now. Like even like whether it's tattooing or in bikes and stuff, people. That is so that is what's cool about Instagram, I guess. Like it can be, like you said, toxic and kind of like too much sometimes, but then it also does give a lot of people who probably wouldn't have access to a lot of the cool history about this stuff access to it if they're interested. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
So that's cool because they can actually educate themselves and like find like the root of shit and you know, if they care about that type. A lot of people don't. Me personally, I do. Like anytime I become interested in anything, you know, whether it's, you know, skating, tattooing, bikes, fucking anything.
Cars.
Anytime I go travel to a new country, I want to learn the history of it. I want to know what happened. I want to know how it happened. I want to know why it is the way it is right now, what went down, what wars were fought. Like I like, when I'm fascinated with something, I become obsessed with it and I want to know everything about it, you know?
Yeah.
And I know there are other people like that out there, you know, and that's I guess that's cool that it gives people access to that. Because like you said, some people say they're in some state where this isn't as accessible as it is here in Southern California or da-da-da. Like they can still maybe not know some of the deep secrets about shit, you know what I mean? Because maybe you do need to have
access,
like deep access to know some stuff for sure, but like an overall consensus of like, you know, what they're into, you if you seek it, you can find it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is cool.
That's probably what I think is the best thing about podcasts, because it gives an opportunity for someone to get a deeper dive into a brand they see online, and maybe give them a connection. And you know, like for reference again, somebody in the Midwest or the East Coast that might be attracted to this, you know, Southern California culture, whether it's the tattoo, motorcycles, music, whatever the case may be. It just gives them a chance to kind of hear about it and maybe hear your story and maybe find some parallels and then maybe change the course of their path on what they're doing. You know, I think I've always said this, that I think that whatever got you into bikes, like I'm happy that it got you here, but I hope that you find it in you to fall in love with this and want to know about it all, regardless of whether or not you think that bike is cool or not. If it's a Harley, you should want to know about it. Like you said, I want to know, you know, like I didn't get the vintage chopper thing when it first came out. Like I struggled with it a lot because for the last 20 years, I've been on the money-making side of the motorcycle industry, whatever was the trendy bike, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't till I followed some of those waves out to realize that I felt like the people in that were more the vultures of the motorcycle culture, because they're
performance aspect.
Not so much the performance, but I'm talking like the big wheel bagger era, the TV chopper era. There was real motherfuckers in the TV chopper era.
For sure.
But it also paved the way for a lot of clowns. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the same thing happened with the big wheel bagger thing. It's definitely an acquired taste for a lot of people. But when I first got into that, there was some fucking cool ass dudes doing that shit.
Right.
Some cool looking bikes, and then they got ridiculous, right?
Yeah,
and it might be what's happening in performance bikes right now because it's the big wave, but I've been heavily a part of that culture for the last 8 years and staying very close to it and trying to, not gatekeep, but trying to get people to just fucking like humble yourself and go into this wanting to learn about it rather than preach about it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of shit that's been cool, but kind of what you were saying earlier about like, you know, me and a lot of homies have been talking about this. It's like, how do you get people to want to pay the respect instead of just buy what they want and own it and just kind of come into it the easiest way for some people? Because some people don't have any money. They got to come in and sweep the floors. They got to come in and, you know, just be like, try to show the culture, the scene, the group of people. Hey, I'm a rad dude. I just think what you're doing is cool. I want to be around it. Some people can come in and buy all the tattoos from you, buy a bike from you, you know, and they're cool, but they're kind of coming in a different way that's frowned upon by other sides of your scene. But you're now the liaison between this guy that you think is pretty cool, but he's also spending shit tons of money. You know what I mean? So how do you like navigate that?
That's tough. I guess it all just kind of depends on their character, right?
Yeah.
Like if they're like a cool dude, and some dudes got it like that, some dudes don't. You know, some dudes, but like just because someone's got this and someone don't got that, that isn't really like
change the value.
Like it's for like I don't know, or I guess just talking about me personally, like if I had that situation near me, which I guess does come around, you know, it's more about the person, you know, and if they're authentic and genuine and like actually but I don't know, my grandpa always says something that sticks to me a lot, and you could pretty much apply it in every area of your life, and I think it's like a funny quote where he just says, time will tell and shit will smell. You know, so it's like you give someone the benefit of the doubt and you kind of take them at face value, you know, and sooner or later they'll show you what they're about.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So I've never, you know, I try to be open, you know what I mean? But like, there are people that will fool you, you know what I mean? But like I said, that usually comes out over time, you know? I don't think it's like, I've gone to shows, you know, and I've been going to shows my whole life, and bike shows and tattoo conventions and shit. And I'll meet these dudes, and, you know, they might feel like they're like somebody or something, and they're fucking assholes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just dicks, and I've never really thought that was cool, you know what I mean? And then I'll go hang out with like the top tier of whatever scene I'm hanging out with that has the most history and the most respect from people in the industry, and they're like the coolest motherfuckers ever.
Yeah.
You know, like I've been fortunate enough to hang out with the Jack Rudys and the Chris Garvers and the fucking Corey Millers and the Freddie Negrettis and the Mark Mahoneys and shit, and they're extremely humble and cool. You know what I mean? In the motorcycle industry too, whether that's, you know, some of these really old school badass chopper builders or super outlaw gangster 1%ers, you know what I mean? And they're like the coolest, nicest, welcoming people ever. It's like which is weird because you feel like if they were to be dicks to you, it would almost be warranted, you know, because they're just like these fucking, you've been looking up to them your whole life.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And they're the shit, you know, but they don't act like that. You know?
Maybe it's probably because they're authentic. They're not putting on a show for, you know, for anybody or themselves. You know, like that's who they are. You know what I mean? They don't have to hide it. You know what I mean?
They're just, you know, they know they got it, so they're cool. You know, they just, I'm sure, you know, you cross them, they'll be an asshole to you. You know what I mean? But most of the time, just from watching them interact with other people too that aren't me, you know, they kind of treat everyone the same, you know. And I've always admired that, and I thought that was cool because that's how my grandfather gets down, you know, and my father as well. Like they're not big egoed, you know, asshole dudes, you know. They're just cool, down to earth people, you know.
Yeah, it goes back to kind of what I was saying earlier about how this world is not that big, and if you really consider burning bridges in it, like you really will sometimes have to cross back over those bridges. You know what I'm saying? Like being an asshole, coming out too hot, too heavy, you know, not being whatever, like just not being genuine, right? It can come off and it could ruin a lot more than it can than any of your talent can make up for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or you're a dick to somebody at one time in their life when maybe they're just getting started or something, and some time goes by, and I wish you weren't an asshole to that person. You know? That might be a gatekeeper for something you got to get into later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's always just treat people as you want to be treated, you know, and you're gonna get what you give, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely a good testament to that. Like I said, I feel like you guys have a good perspective, just being, you know, having the family history, being in this melting pot of creative people. You know what I mean? That's one thing I love about coming to Venice. and I try to come here like once or twice, if not 3 times a year, because when I'm here, I feel inspired to create.
It's very creative energy here. That's why I love it here as well. Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird place. It's a place where you can ride around on a crazy chopper with tattoos all over your face and gold teeth, and the cops don't even look at you twice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's some cities in Southern California where I like dread having to rip through them because the cops think they're fucking John Wayne. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They just want to fuck with you because of the way you look. You know what I mean? Or just a lot of other places too in the country, or you'd be surprised. You know what I mean? It's like it's a trip. You go down Orange County, it's like going back in time 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like LA is like, it's kind of like San Francisco. It's pretty lawless. You know what I mean? It's like you can find some of the most beautiful things here, and then you can find some of the scariest shit you've ever seen here, you know, as well. It just depends what you're looking for and what you're trying to get into, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I trip out, this is kind of off topic, but I trip out, like I'll meet people from other states or whatever, and California's kind of got a bad rap right now, you know? I think a lot has to do with our politics and all the COVID shit and everything, you know, and everyone thinks that like everyone from here is like that, or what's perceived on like Fox News or something or whatever, you know, and I would say most of us, like guys like me, are just kind of like just focused on whatever the fuck we're into. Don't give a fuck about any of that, but there's just masses of other people that do, and they push that shit, you know, and we just kind of fall into like that weird category because we're from California, you know, or oh, fuck California, fuck yeah, and you're just like, well, you fucking copy everything we do out here, so how big of a fuck are we? You know, I don't know. That's kind of...
I like to attribute to this, you know, not getting into politics or anything, but a town like Venice that kind of breeds culture and art, you don't get that by being very conservative, right? They're not going to allow you to paint murals the way that like some of the murals that are on these walls out here in a very conservative area of America. You know what I mean? You don't see this in Orange County. You know what I mean?
Not as much, yeah.
You know, so it's like certain areas, like I say this to my wife's aunt, love her to death. Huge Democrat. Like, won't even bat an eye of any Republican policy, right? But I try to explain to her, I was like, look, certain things have to be a certain way in certain areas for the world to work. Like, what works here does not work in Wyoming.
Right.
You know what I mean? And what works in Wyoming doesn't work here, but you need both of them. You know, it's kind of one of those things that like I think for everybody else, it's like California's been on the fucking pedestal for so long and all these countercultures that now that there's anything that people can like take it down, it's like they just do. It's like, well, you know, if the politics weren't so bad, it's like a way of like feeling like making themselves feel better about where they're at in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that could be that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Because most people, if they could afford it or they could swing it, would live here.
Yeah, like
somewhere here, maybe not right here, but somewhere.
We have beautiful weather here. You know what I mean? Like I ride a motorcycle every day.
Yep.
You know, unless I'm in my Impala because I got this fucking guy with me. Like I ride a bike every day. You know, I'm very fortunate and blessed that I can do that. You know, and I'm kind of handcuffed to California. You know, all my family's here. I've grown up here my whole life. I've never lived anywhere else. You know, and all my clients are here. They're tattooed. You know, so it's like. Yeah, you know, I'm not going anywhere, you know, like it's, you know, you tattooed for a while and I'm sure you have a lot of homies that tattoo. It's hard to just pick up and go. I have a lot of friends that do that, you know, they go and move different places, but, you know, like I said, I've been tattooing since I was 15. I'm like tattooing the same dudes I've been tattooing since we were fucking kids, you know what I mean? Like I feel like that would be hard for me in a different state, you know. So besides like all the culture and like the cool shit going on here and everything, I'm just so deep rooted here. It would like, I wish I could buy a home here. I'm working really hard to make it happen, you know what I mean? But it is tough to do that. They definitely keep their feet on our necks, you know what I mean, out here, which sucks, you know. But where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yeah.
And it's like kind of don't let all like the outside bullshit affect you negatively, you know, just try to stay focused on what you're passionate about and find ways around bullshit, you know, whether it's fucking, I can't get this part because I'm in California. Okay, bummer. I got to have it shipped to Arizona and then shipped out here. It's going to take me 3 more days and $40 more, whatever the fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh shit. Like, you know, California's lawless. There's people going around robbing people. All right, well, now I just got to carry a gun. No big deal. You know what I mean? It's just, you find ways to navigate around it. If you want to be here, you'll be here, you know?
Yeah, but most cities in America are dealing with pretty much the same levels of crime. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fucking it is what it is. Yeah, I grew up in rough neighborhoods, so I'm not really tripping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not. It's you know, it just kind of is what it is.
It's part of the environment. Yeah,
that's. I feel like that's also what contributes to making the art that comes out of here, the culture that comes out of here, so raw and like attractive, is because.
The hardships.
Like, yeah, the influences of this shit, you know what I mean? Like, California isn't all palm trees and movie stars, you know what I mean?
It's when you turn the camera up and you get the horizon out, you just get a badass sunset and some palm trees, it looks badass, but if you turn the camera down, sometimes it's pretty rough.
Yeah,
you know?
But that's what's cool about it. It's got everything, you know what I mean? I wouldn't want to live somewhere where it's just like, fuck it, you know what I mean? Like, it's cool, you know. I don't know, you know. I've traveled the world for tattooing. I've been all over Europe, you know. I've been all over the country, and I've yet to find somewhere that I would want to move, you know. The only reason that I guess it would take me anywhere else is, you know, to buy a home or something, but.
I've always felt like coming here. Second. So hold on.
Oh shit!
Yeah, you got this on you. You have to unplug it.
I don't want this dog to.
Well, here, I'll just unplug this real quick. I'll hold it.
Stop fucking around.
I've always said that, like, when I come here, because I used to be pretty fortunate to fly to NorCal, like usually once a month to paint motorcycles, and that's really got me like into the culture of the Dynas performance motorcycles about 10 years ago now. And I've always said when I come here, I'm immediately energized with like this go-getter mentality, right? And for me, from the being out, you know, in Texas, it's like you come here, and we always like had this thing of like, especially in NorCal more so, it's like everybody was on the California pace. Kind of mellow, no rush, and I would come out here and just bust ass and hustle because I was so not used to that energy that's being pumped through my veins. You know what I mean? And so I love that about being here. It kind of creates that. And the only other place I really feel like that is New York. It's a different kind of grit and energy, but you feel like you're plugging into something, you know, electrifying there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. That, and it's so fucking expensive to live here. You have to hustle to survive. You can't just sit around playing with your pecker, you know. You gotta you gotta get out there and do it, you know.
Yeah.
Whether you're the guy that does tattoos, you're the guy that works on bikes, you're the guy that, you know, fucking builds houses, or, you know, you're a plumber or an electrician, or you work down at the harbor. Like, everyone's just, it's like, it's hustle, and you know, you gotta be tentative somewhat, you know, because of traffic, you know. So it's like everyone's kind of on that grind, you know, which can sometimes be overwhelming and become a lot, you know, but it also can, if you're like trying to do something, you know what I mean, it will, like you said, like influence you in that to like work hard.
That's really cool what you said though, because I do agree with the hardship thing. It's like some of the best graffiti all came out of these areas. You know, I've seen a lot of the documentaries on a lot of these guys, and I never quite got into the graffiti thing. You would think so as an airbrush guy, but you know, I found my path to art in a different way. But I've always loved that style, and growing up around some of them, especially in the art scene in Dallas, you know, a lot of those graffiti artists that I kind of knew became fine art guys, and their fine art, like, I don't know if revolutionized is the right word, but it changed the fine art game that made it more appealing to newer generations. And I feel like over the last 12, 15 years, the art that's been coming from like more so the tattoo culture and the graffiti culture has been some of the sickest shit out there, you know, pushing the envelopes and using different mediums together in one to kind of create some, you know, really rad pieces and stuff like that.
Definitely.
You know, and I mean, if you think about it, like the photography that captures that world, that captures like what's on your walls. I mean, these are the things that like I grew up with watching in music videos as a kid, you know, whether that was some, you know, fucking, you know, California rap or, you know, some Sublime, you know what I mean? It all kind of looked like that. So when you get out here and you see these areas, you see those mountains back there, you see, you know, the Santa Monica Pier, it's like, fuck, man, or you play Grand Theft Auto. It's like...
Yeah, someone told me that the other day. I was at the gym. I work out at Gold's in Venice, and there was like a German guy, and he just started shooting the shit with me. And he was like, being here isn't like being in Grand Theft Auto. And I was like...
It is.
I've never played it before, but I've seen like clips of it on the internet and stuff, and I was like, I could see why you... Yeah.
I mean, the latest one is modeled after here, but it's funny because, you know, me and my wife 2 days ago, we walked from Santa Monica down the pier all the way to Venice, like right here.
Yeah.
And it's funny because as you're walking by people, they're just having conversations, like the most random shit you hear pass by you. Mm-hmm. Like you catch that part of a conversation, like what the fuck were they talking about, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what it's like on Grand Theft Auto when you're walking around. You just hear these non-playable characters just kind of like saying the most random shit. It really nails like what it feels like to be on the streets out here, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a huge, like you mentioned the photography earlier. Like right now we have a guy, a good friend of mine, Collier Ott, who's been shooting a lot of our stuff. And kind of whenever we want to kind of, I guess, you know, shoot somebody / feature them for the brand, we kind of go to their area. We make it, I don't like hit somebody up unless it's like a special occasion or something where, like if it's like a dude that's from, you know, let's say Ventura or something, you know what I mean, and Collie's gonna go shoot him up there. It's like, I don't want to tell that guy, like, where to take us in Ventura to shoot him on his bike.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, tell us where you think would be dope. That'll kind of reflect your environment. Mm-hmm. And we'll go shoot there.
No, that's right.
So you're like comfortable there and it's cool and it's their vibe. You know what I mean? Because everyone has their own unique thing about them. You know what I mean? From the way that they either build their bikes or customize their bike, the way they dress, the way they talk. Like everyone is unique and different in their own way. So I think it's like you get like the most authentic and like cool shots of people when they're doing their thing. You know, not like putting, like, even when I, like a lot of times too, when we like shoot people, I ask them like, what do you like from the line that you think you'll look cool in? You know what I mean? Because I'm not gonna put something on a dude who like wouldn't ever wear that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or like take him to a place where he would never be hanging out. You know, it's like, it's I just feel like you get the best results when you go the other direction with it. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's the point of it, right? I was just in Ventura yesterday, and even though we're talking like maybe 60 miles from LA, it's like it's a whole different world. It's a different world, different, and it looks different. Yeah, you know, 100%. Here, you know, and then later on I'll be in Temecula. It's all different. It's different vibes, you know.
Different vibes, different demographic, different everything. You know, this place is vast. You know, it's very different.
It can be overwhelming for some people. I could see how people out here might have high anxiety or high strung or whatever the case may be, you know. Mm-hmm. I always tell people back home that haven't been here, it's like, if you're in San Antonio and you wanted to drive to Dallas, that's what it's like being in Ventura and wanting to get to the other side of, like, you know, Palm Springs. It's just nothing but fucking city or suburbs all the way. Yeah. You know?
They even got their own vibe out there too. Like, there's so much cool music that comes out of the desert.
Yeah.
And so many cool bands that are becoming current again, I guess, like recently. But these albums came out 20 years, 30 years ago. You know what I mean? And they're like influencing like what's cool right now in rock and roll, you know, which is super fucking cool. You know, like every area's got its own thing, you know, so it's cool to like tap into it, whether it's through art, motorcycles, music, you know what I mean? You know, it's rad. Texas got its own thing. Everybody's got their own thing, you know?
Yeah.
It's just trying to find like the authentic and like genuine motherfuckers, you know what I mean, from those areas. That's what I'm attracted to, you know what I mean? Like, that's what's, I think, is cool, you know. There's a lot of cool shit, but trying to find and be around kind of like that type of stuff in whatever place I'm in, you know. I like that. That's like why when I'm traveling and stuff and tattooing, I like to go work at like the really old school shops for the guys that have been around a long time. I don't want to go work for like the guys that got the most Instagram followers that, you know, that fucking think they're the coolest.
They don't have tattoos.
Yeah, there's them too, you know, but like, you know, like I want to go work for the old guys that have the old stories that can tell me what it used to be like here or whatever the fuck, or like how this all came to be.
It goes back to the history and inquisitiveness that you have, you know?
Yeah, I love that shit. You know what I mean? It to me, it almost gives me purpose, you know what I mean? Without knowing the history or knowing like the roots or the origins of whatever I'm interested in, like I don't know, it fucking, I really like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It gives me motivation, I guess, to like be creative in whatever way I'm trying to be creative in, because like I feel like I'm like kind of.
Do you ever like deal with a lot of creative blocks out here in your stuff, like in your art process or creative process of creating tattoos and stuff?
Tattooing's can be kind of tough because like, yeah, you're doing your art or your interpretation of what somebody wants you to do, but sometimes I guess that, like, not a block in a way to where like I can't create something or do a tattoo. I always find a way to do it, because it's not only like a creative outlet, it's a job, you know what I mean? Just like painting a bike, you know what I mean? Just because if someone brings you a bike and says I want you to paint it, but if you're not feeling like you have a creative block or something, you're just not gonna not paint it. You're gonna paint it because you need to eat. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. But I do sometimes feel like I get like blocks to where like I'm having a hard time developing new things that I want to do. So I kind of get in like this cycle of kind of doing the same stuff over and over again. But it's hard because that's what people want from you.
Yeah.
You know, I guess it's like comparable to like a band or something that like that plays the same song everywhere they go, you know what I mean? But people love that fucking song, you know? But I found ways to like get around that, to where like I'll just like slowly start going in a different direction, and the people that really want art or tattoos from you will kind of
follow you along.
Or see that that's what you're trying to do, and they want to collect from you, so they'll you know, be open to that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say that like the art block, or what you were just saying, and I think this applies to tattoo artists. It's like every one of my next customers is inspired to work with me over something that I've already created. Right. So it's like they really want that, but I have to make that again in a new way, but different. Yeah. So that it's not like what I just gave to the individual before, right?
For sure. Yeah, that's definitely.
And that's like I've always said, like when people are building bikes these days or customizing them, most of the products they want are on the wall, so they already see it. I saw that on a bike. I like that. I want that on my bike. But when you're painting it, it's like I saw that bike. I love that bike. I need a version of that, and you're rolling the dice with your painter, or maybe the whole build of it looking like that one that you envisioned, right? And I think that's what happened with tattoos, because I stopped getting tattoos a while. Like I haven't had one like 8 years.
Oh, really? I
couldn't find artists that would do what they do online in real life.
Oh, really?
You know, it felt like a lot of them would have, you know, they're posting a highlight reel, right? But then, you know, like you find something within the wheelhouse of the style that they have, and you want them to kind of do it, but it's like they just would give me lackluster stuff, not feeling like it was what they did. And I just, you know, growing up in a tattoo shop, you know, this shit was free. You know, I'm showing one dude how to airbrush, he's tattooing me, I'm tattooing him, he's tattooing me. And then you get to a point where, all right, well, I want to work with this guy. Well, it's a $500 tattoo or $800 tattoo, and you're like, man, this ain't as good as I wish was he going through something today? Like, did he give me his all? Like, this is on my body forever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's not cool. You got to kind of put any bullshit aside you got when you're marking someone permanently. You know, that sucks. You've had that experience.
It's just, I mean, but it's not like I'm not trying to say that's all tattooing, but that's just kind of what I dealt with, you know. But now that I've become friends with so many more tattooers that, like, I'm kind of like what you were saying. Like, I kind of want to get one from all the homies that, you know, get one from my boy Dylan out of Houston, get one from Oliver, get one from you at some point in time, and, you know, collect your art, on me, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that shit's rad. It's like when you ask me about like my hand and stuff, I'm like, oh, Boog did this, and you know who that is. You know what I mean? Like that, I'm proud to say that. You know, there's a mural of them in Dallas I'm proud to see when I cruise through that neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he influenced he influenced a lot of people, you know, with his art. I didn't know him super well. We hung out a couple times, but since I was a kid, I'd seen his flash up in shops and stuff.
He really got big in the flash. Like when I was getting tattooed by him, he was kind of drawing, but he didn't have his flash book. He didn't have his lettering book that he had made.
Yeah.
And then of course, you know, when I started doing a lot more lowrider paint jobs back in like the late 2000s, I got to come out here and meet Cartoon and some of those guys. And the shop I worked at, the dude was fucking loaded. So he'd have Cartoon come in and tattoo his whole family.
Wow.
I'm on his family. So I'm just there hanging out, but it was just cool to see and meet guys like that doing stuff. And yeah, I mean, that was the shit back then. It still is the shit now to have all those things. But, you know, I look at your tattoos and I'm like, man, that's fucking like well thought out. My shit's all like, fuck, you know, doesn't really flow together very well, you know. I got some shit I would love to get covered up. It's not that I want to cover it up because I don't like it. It's just that it's very visible and I would rather have an aesthetic that like fit better, you know.
Right.
I got a homie with a full bodysuit that was all done by someone, I don't know who it was, but from knowing him and knowing his aesthetic, it's not somebody that's not cheap and not legit. And I'm like, dude, that fucking looks sick. When not gay, but when he takes his shirt off and everything looks fucking just clean, I'm like, I wish I would have planned out like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you.
But
for sure.
So you said you were dropping. I mean, I don't think this episode I won't be home for another month, but you're doing another show in July now, right? Like, what's the premise behind this one, you know?
Yeah, so this one's it's the 28th right now. We're doing this one on the 21st. Pretty much, yeah, it's pretty simple. Like the dude, Atlas, Rick, he said that the warehouse is still vacant. Yeah, they end up renting it, you know? And he's down to do another one, but I reached out to him because I tattoo these dudes that are in this band called the Doom Boys, and they just released their first record on a label they just signed to. I think it's Regime Records. Mm-hmm. And they played at our last show, and I'm pretty good with I'm really good friends with their bass player Travis. He's a client of mine. His older brother Jeremiah lived at my grandfather's place for years, and actually still lives there in Wilmington underneath a different landlord. So yeah, I just go way back with them, and they're releasing their record or whatever, and they said like, can you like help us host it, you know? And I said, yeah, fuck it, let's do it, let's do a party. And then we got a couple other bands to play that are really good, and Death Chant and Bitch Kiss and another one, Death Chant. Those dudes are, I'm good friends with Doug. I don't know the other guys too well, but Doug's actually a photographer that shoots for us as well.
Oh hell yeah.
They just got back from like a Europe tour, so we're just kind of getting a bunch of cool bands together and just gonna do the same thing and see how it goes, you know.
Do you think if everything works out, you'll be able to do it again next winter, as far as January, February thing again?
Yeah, I think for sure. Why not?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everyone had a good time. No one got hurt. You know, fuck it. Probably have to get a bigger venue, though, to be honest, you know? I'm not trying to like step on anyone's toes with this shit or anything. Like I just want to have a good time, you know, and give people a place to like showcase their art and photography and cool bands to play and cool bikes and, you know, have a good time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's it, you know?
It's great. I'm literally working on the same thing in Dallas, like a smaller, more different kind of vibe, but, you know, to do the same thing with like photography and some artists that I know that I've been trying to get the motorcycle culture to lean into the artists more instead of using them a lot, you know, like mainly photographers. We get, oh man, let me get that picture. It'd be cool for my Instagram post. And then, you know, you get a shout out, no money, nothing ever comes of it, right? You got $10,000, $20,000 in equipment that just turns into people's profile pictures, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But finding a way to like get people to start seeing, like if they come to your shop and they see these printed things on the wall, like it shows them photography in a different way than they're not used to. They're used to seeing it right here, you know, 4 or 5 inches, you know, wide, right? And that doesn't feel the same way that Venice poster or that Venice print does right there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That right there, just like you see that, and you're like, fuck, if that was sitting over my couch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
who I am.
Yeah. You know, how many dudes' garages have you been in that have like a David Mann poster ripped out of a Easy Rider, you know what I mean? But it ain't in a frame.
Yep.
You know, I don't know if this is relevant to what you're saying, but like I feel like you just kind of got to show them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, look, like you dedicate your whole life to this and you're all about it, you know, like put something cool up on your wall, support somebody that is also about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
I think a lot of I try to push my photographers to do that as well, you know, I'm like with their websites and stuff, and we're going to start offering it too on ours and working out something with them, but I always kind of say like you should sell, you know, prints of your stuff, and if not prints, you should sell framed photos of your stuff or do something to where it's accessible and easy for people to get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People have very short attention spans, you know what I mean? You got to set up your business online as easy as possible for people to navigate and use, you know? Because someone, you know, everyone's got a million things going on every day, you know? But if you propose things to people in a way to where it's not inconvenient, and they can see, like they can visualize it in their mind, you know, how it would look above their couch or in their bedroom or whatever, like it changes the whole dynamic and aesthetic of the place you're in, you know what I mean? If there's cool framed art or photography or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, it's huge, you know?
So when I started following that House of Spoils page, that's what they do. They show the art, like you see the print as the first, then you slide over and then you see it like above something in someone's house. It gives you like a perspective of what this could look like in your home, you know what I mean? And
yeah, most people are visual people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like that's why people watch TV a lot, right? Or like Instagram, it's like visual, like you're like and we've almost been conditioned to be like that, you know what I mean, as consumers, right? So if you know, not that you're trying to sell somebody on some shit because it sells itself if it's dope, you know what I mean? But like, just so people can see it for themselves and, you know, it helps.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, that's why I kind of, with the photography for the brand and stuff, I kind of like try to, you know, and I'm not doing anything new or different, you know what I mean? People have been doing this shit forever. I'm just trying to, you know.
Do it with your flavor.
Yeah.
So as we get close to the end of this, man, like about like the 5-ball racing leathers, like what's your focus with those? Like what kind of garments and things do you make on there for people? You know what I mean? Like what is a part of that? T-shirts, leather goods, things like that. What all is it?
Right. Well, we sell, you know, leather products, riding stuff, a lot of stuff like that. But it's very we talked about earlier, like timeless designs. You know, it's not like something that has like 5-ball and leather and orange going down the arm or like fucking shit. Like it's like,
not over branded.
It's not over branded. It's very simple and clean, and I focus a lot on like the fit of stuff. You know, I like it to like fit good. You know, so I've spent a lot of time in product development making that as bulletproof as I can, with it being leather and everyone's body being different in every way. You know, I try to do my best. You know, with that. So you know, that's something that we do: leather shirts, leather jackets, vests. We do, you know, soft goods, you know, shirts, beanies, hats. We just developed these new suede bikinis for chicks that are pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, those are dope. Like, it's been a lot of work.
Yeah.
All this stuff, you know what I mean? And I've had control over it for the last maybe 3.5 years. And it's a lot with tattooing 5 days a week. You know, my own personal tattooing, and then also managing my tattoo shop and other artists and stuff, and then this shit, and then building and working on bikes and painting and drawing and trying to be in a relationship. It's a lot of shit, you know what I mean? Trying to stay healthy, trying to stay sober, blah, blah, blah. So with that being said, I haven't really been able to like focus a whole lot on like the women's stuff on our line. Like we carried a few products, you know what I mean? But it wasn't like a major priority, because I was like, we're selling shit to biker dudes, you know what I mean? Chopper dudes, fucking FXR dudes. Like, it's like, I don't think we're missing a huge amount of money by like not focusing too much on the chick shit and just focusing on the dude shit, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm in a relationship right now with my girlfriend, and she rides bikes. And she's very heavily involved with the motorcycle world and the scene out here, and she's been helping me develop new stuff for chicks. Her and my mother also rides bikes, and you know, it's something that I'm like, I always kind of thought that, like everything I just said, you know, but like I actually should have maybe paid more attention to it and tried to like make more chick shit, you know, because it's fun and it's cool, and girls are very enthusiastic about it, which is dope, you know. And we just came out with a new girls leather jacket. It's just like a take on like the old school Marlon Brando, Sid Vicious one, but same thing, just making it fit perfect, you know, and using the right leather and the right snaps and zippers and lining and all the stuff that goes into it, as well as those leather bikinis, which are really cool. They're fun, you know what I mean? Shit like that's fun. So we sell those things, you know.
How often, like as far as like ordering for like jackets, vests, like how is it like a run and then you drop and then you have so many available, or is it kind of like, can they custom order or things like that, or how does that work?
We can custom order. Most people don't, just because of the expense of it, you know what I mean? But we do offer that, you know what I mean? We do make limited runs of certain things, you know, and then we have a consistent flow of like our best sellers, which are like our timeless classic pieces, you know. But I try not to veer off too far from like the designs that Keith made, you know what I mean? Because they're fucking perfect, you know what I mean? I don't.
Tried and true, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I can't fucking, if it ain't fixed, don't, you know, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know what I mean? And it's all cool shit, you know. I feel like the dudes from his era of motorcycling, you know what I mean, chopper stuff and custom bikes, like, you know, the late 60s, early 70s, like they just fucking dialed it in. Like it can't get any cooler, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in you know, the chopper world, you know what I mean? And obviously the more modern stuff, I would say like, you know, 90s, 2000s for like FXRs and stuff like that. It can't get, they kind of perfected that look, you know what I mean? Then now they're just making cooler, better performance parts for them, you know? But like the chopper thing, like I like fuck, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't, like everyone's just trying to remake the shit that they were making during that time, you know what I mean? And the designs of the leathers and the stuff we sell, it just goes hand in hand with that. You know what I mean? So I do my best to like complement it and do little things to kind of put my little twist on it. You know what I mean? But you know, I'm just very fortunate and blessed to have him as a
mentor and
as a mentor. Yeah, a mentor and I owe everything to him and my father. And I'm very blessed. You know, they were crazy. My father was very crazy growing up with my dad as my dad, and my grandfather is my grandfather. You know, but I've learned a lot. I've learned everything I know from them. You know, and I just try to do my best with everything I do to honor them and make them proud. You know, because I can give two fucks about what everyone thinks about me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really mean much to me, you know, but what they think about me is that's all I care about, you know. So I just, anything I do, I try to, you know.
No, that's how, I mean, that's the same way I am. Like, you know, you lose a lot of sleep trying to care about what everybody on the street thinks about you, but the people that you consider to be mentors, that you're inspired by, the people that you want to be, you know, like, you just want to be in their good graces. Like, I care about what they think about me, you know. Sure. And I think about those men, you know, when I am about to do something that might be questionable. You know what I mean?
Right.
What would they think, you know? Instead of what would Jesus do, it's like, you know, what would so and so think?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed and fortunate to, like, have grown up around the people that I'm around, and like it's cool, man. It's like my mom rides bikes. She's got an old knucklehead that she built with her old man. Fuck. You know, my stepfather, he's been building bikes since he was 15 years old. His father has been building choppers since the fucking 60s or 50s. I don't know. His father was older, I think, than my grandfather. You know, my dad rides bikes. My grandfather, like, everyone's just, like, very into it. You know what I mean? So, I'm just very fortunate. You know what I mean? And my girlfriend Chanel, she rides bikes, and she's like, she rides crazier and gnarlier than a lot of dudes I ride with. You know what I mean? Like, I don't got to worry about her at all. She loves being on the back, but she's got a little Sportster chopper she rips around on, and like it's tattoos and motorcycles. It just all, I'm just consumed in it. You know what I mean? Like, or consumed by it, and I'm just very lucky, I guess. You know. I didn't grow up with a lot of money or nothing like that, but I didn't grow up from, like, a rich family, but I grew up in a family that's rich with history and culture, and I'd take and that hustle, probably any day over a bunch of fucking money. You know?
For sure. I mean, you grew up with an identity that you get to carry on, you know what I mean? When a lot of people with money, they're searching for shit like that sometimes, you know, like, you know, who am I? What am I doing? What, you know, all that kind of stuff that I feel like guys like yourself, and I know myself, like, I accepted a long time ago my path in motorcycling, art, and, you know, being creative, and going down this path of doing podcasts is literally about finding people that I'm inspired by or interested in, and trying to, you know, share that story, share those tidbits of their knowledge that they want to, you know, put on the table for people that might be in the same boat as me. That's cool. Inquisitive, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
I admire that. That's really cool. I think that there needs to be people like yourself going and doing that. I'm surprised you want to do one with me. You know what I mean? So that's cool. You know.
No, it's all good, man. Like, the magazine stuff, you know, like, I'm a huge magazine fan. Obviously, we don't have magazines like we did, like, when I was growing up, and I think you got a taste of that as well. But like, this might be another way of people getting some of those stories, some of those behind the scenes kind of things that, you know, that magazines used to provide before they became just overrun with ads, right?
Right.
And you know, photography is the same way. Like, a brand like yours, the way you're presenting it to the world, I think that people hearing some of your story through this podcast, and then following your Instagram and seeing some of the things that we're talking about, like the tattoos, the photography, your, you know, personal rides, those kind of things, it kind of wraps everything together and gives people a good perspective of, like, what they're getting with Five Ball, and from your generation of it, you know what I'm saying? So, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. I know we were kind of trying to, catch each other with schedules and shit, you know what I'm saying? But it
No, this worked out. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah. I think right now, just from what I see in my, not that my opinion matters much, you know what I mean, or whatever, but I feel like people are in a place in a lot of different areas that are relevant to like motorcycling and tattooing and bikes and art and all that, like everything that we're talking about. I think a lot of people are just in a place right now to where they've decided they want to dedicate their lives to this. You know what I mean? That this is like, they feel in their heart, this is who they are, this is what they want to pursue, and this is or they've been doing it forever, whatever. You know what I mean? But like, and the, if they're, or let me retract that. Like, I feel like people just want to just know the history and like the origins of like stuff that they're extremely passionate about. You know what I mean? Like that's become like we're in, I feel like recent years when I talk to my father about tattooing and stuff, and he says in the 90s, that like the newer, his generation of, my dad worked for all the old school guys. You know what I mean? He apprenticed from Mark Mahoney when he was 15 years old. He worked with, Mark and Freddie and Bob Roberts and Dave Gibson and, Lou Segato and like all these, that's just like to name a few, you know what I mean? He worked for all the old school guys. But he said in that era, like of the newer tattooers that were coming up, no one gave a fuck about the old school. People didn't want anything to do with it. They wanted the new shit, They didn't pay any respects. They weren't, it wasn't relevant to what they were doing. That's just from what I got, from what he tells me, But I feel like right now in time, people are interested in that, you know what I mean? Because it's, why wouldn't you be if this is something that you're extremely passionate about, you know? And I'm not saying that, like just my family, there's a small piece of that, you know what I mean? There's a giant, world, but like, I think just what's people find attractive about the brand is that it has some pretty authentic, genuine origins, which is Keith. You know, he was a head editor for Easy Rider magazine for 30 years and all of Paisano publications. He's built the fastest panhead in the world, built the fastest shovel in the world in their classes. He's written countless books. He lived the outlaw lifestyle during the era where a lot of people are extremely interested in hearing and learning about. You know what I mean? Like he really did the damn thing. You know what I mean? And he's made a career out of being a biker and being an outlaw. You know what I mean? And he's really stood true by the statement of like, freedom at all costs. You know what I mean? And I admire the shit out of him, you know what I mean? I know my father does, and the same thing with my dad and his career as a tattoo artist and all the stuff he's achieved and gone through. It's just like filtering down to me, and I'm just like, fuck, I'm just trying to like honor their shit, you know what I mean? I'm not, I don't think I'm anything. I'm just trying to carry on all the cool shit they did,
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of in doing so, I think that you'll carve your own path and your own legacy throughout the whole situation. Right. What they did was cool. Like you said earlier, they figured out a lot of cool shit then, and it's been, I guess, the generations past to carry on that and not let it die on their time at the helm. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
it's like it's all about perspective, right? Like in how you look at shit, how you look at life. And I feel like that's a huge, that's a lot of what I do is what I got from them in that aspect. You know what I mean? How to carry yourself and like how to do shit. You know what I mean? It all comes from observing them and just being around them.
Yeah.
You can look like somebody, you can dress like somebody, you can buy all the shit somebody has, you can do all the shit, but like if your mind isn't in the same place of, then you might, it might be a little different.
You can't fake the mind. You can't fake who you are. You can't. I mean, you can say the right things, but it doesn't last. Like the saying goes, the shit stinks. What was the thing?
Time will tell and shit will smell.
Exactly. They can't keep up that persona forever. You know what I mean?
Like, how many times have you gone and hung out with, it might not be often, but like, have you ever gone and hung out with somebody you extremely admire, and you looked up to their work, and you think like maybe they're a bike builder or an artist or, you know, a tattooer or whatever, and their work's amazing and all this shit, you know what I mean? And then you like hang out with them and you're like, this guy's a fucking dick. You know what I mean? Like, this guy's a fucking nerd. This guy isn't about shit. You know, he's good at what he does, but like his mental ain't too attractive. You know what I mean? His perspective on life ain't that cool. You know what I mean?
I think
it sucks when that happens. You know what I mean?
The disheartening thing that I probably run into more often than anything is people that I think that are really truly in love with this culture and like really trying to do their best to preserve it and grow it and keep it real are using it to only their advantage, and they're looking, you know, like they really don't care about it. It's something they can make money at now, and they're doing so in order to do that thing. And then as soon as they see an out, they're out because they don't care about it. Like, I think it's an honor to be able to say that I've lived my adult life making money off being in the motorcycle world, you know, whether that's a painter, a builder, whatever the case may be. And I think it'd be even more rad to be able to be on my, if retirement's an option or whatever, like to be able to say that I lived my whole life giving to this thing, this motorcycle two-wheel thing. And I was, you know, obviously it's going to come with some badass stories and whatnot, but to me, that's the coolest shit in the world. And when I meet older men that are like that, I'm more drawn to their stories, who they are, their aesthetic, everything about them, because they figured it out before me. And I'm trying to figure that out now. But yes, when I find people that I think is about this world, about this, they, you know, and then you meet them and it's just a hustle for them, you know, that kind of, you know, it's not my place to, you know, another man's trying to make a living, do whatever he wants, but I'm less inclined to want to lean back into that person because they're just trying to get their piece of the pie to get the fuck out of this, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know. To me, that's just, I don't want to lift that person up that much, you know what I mean?
Right.
So,
I understand.
You know, it's like I said, it's this motorcycle shit's giving me everything that I got, you know. It made my wife like me, you know what I mean? It's allowed me to have kids and take care of them. It's allowed me to meet so many people in this motorcycle world that I've admired, and some people that didn't know I would come to admire, you know what I mean? So I owe a lot to it, and that's how I try to live, you know what I'm saying?
That's awesome.
You know?
Yeah,
so,
that's rad.
But
Super
also
cool.
just trying to be me,
of course,
in it.
Yeah.
So, well, definitely. Hey, I do appreciate this, and they can check out all the work at like Instagram. It's 5Ball Racing or 5Ball Leathers.
My family's company, it's 5Ball Racing Leathers on Instagram at 5Ball Racing Leathers.
Mm-hmm.
The website is 5ballracing.com. My grandfather's website is bikernet.com.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first online motorcycle magazine. He started that after he left Easy Riders, but
yeah,
he does a weekly post. It's kind of like a
blog almost, or
kind of like a blog, but it's more like it's like the news, you know what I mean? Where it talks about upcoming events and like current topics going on in the motorcycle industry in the world,
mm-hmm.
you know. My tattoo parlor is on Instagram is 5Ball Studios, at 5Ball Studios. And my personal tattoo page is at Frank Ball Jr.
Mm-hmm.
BALLJR.
Is that the best place for them to go, like Frank Ball Jr., to try to book a tattoo kind of thing or something, or what?
Yeah, it'll forward you to a few different avenues to book an appointment.
That's cool.
That also, if you just look up my personal at Frank Ball Jr., there's different ways to get to everything else I just talked about.
Yeah, that's cool.
So,
Well, hey man, I really do appreciate this, and I wanted to try to get some photos of you and outside the car before I dip out, you know. And
sounds good.
I know you probably got some appointments and shit going on here pretty soon.
Yeah,
so.
I'm good. I still got like 20 minutes.
Cool. That's all I need. All right. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.